That Don't Sound Right is a podcast about talking the way we did before the internet, when you could not prove anyone right or wrong.
All the expertise was contained in the people involved with the conversation. I'm Peter.
I'm Cecil, and I hope you enjoy our conversations. And as you listen, if you find yourself silently saying, that don't sound right, send us a comment. You're one of us.
Yeah. When I think about it, when I think about us doing it, it just don't sound right. But now that when I first thought about it, now it makes sense. Is that kids are around water and boats, and I remember a couple of the guys in high school. We would go to their house and we'd get on their boat and drive around. Welcome back to another episode of That Don't Sound Right, a podcast about talking. We're your co-hosts. I'm Peter Millman.
I'm Cecil Davis.
Hey, and we're just trying to have a conversation without Googling or fact-checking. We're just talking about some of the experiences that we've had, some of the things that we've observed, some of the things that we've heard. And Cecil's range of experiences are much different than mine. However, I have found that they largely intersect.
It's a large overlap.
Our diversity is not as great as you might think.
There's a large overlap. Trying to talk through some things that we find interesting. We always try to stay on brand with what doesn't sound right. And so tonight we're talking about boats, specifically boat owners. And we're going to start out with just a story about something I saw this early summer down at the coast. But my whole point about this is that I'm not sure that everybody that owns a boat knows how to operate and launch a boat properly.
And that really doesn't sound right, because you think if you're spending this much money on a boat, there's going to be some level of education, some level of training, some level of knowledge about how to operate the boat, how to care for the boat, how to launch the boat, how to take the boat out of the water, how to tie up the boat.
Right, and that's what I'm talking about tonight. So
how to maintain the boat.
I saw this is just this is probably this was probably a 16-foot boat, I would say.
All right.
So a fairly sizable boat. It had a stand-up console in the middle, and it had
so it was a center console.
Center console.
Okay.
Boat. And so it was for being on the river, fairly shallow bottom.
And you sent me a picture of this.
I did. And so this boat was tied off on the river on a dock, and everybody went to bed that night. And the next morning, or early that morning, it started raining because there was a hurricane coming in, and it rained most of the night. Man, I didn't realize this, but there's several things here that I am not a boat guy. I don't own a boat. I have never owned a boat. Not a big boat. But there are several things that I now realize. The back of the boat is built to drain. So if you ever look in the back of a boat, the stern, the stern is lower, and so if the boat fills with water, it drains out of the back of the stern. That's one thing.
Okay.
There's also pumps on a boat.
Yes.
And so, like if the boat fills with water, you can have automatic bilge pumps that come on and pump the water out, or you can leave pumps pumping. So that keeps the water out of the boat. And
you want the bilge pump working.
Yes, you want that working. And then boats are built to float.
Right.
I mean, it's really hard to sink a boat because there's compartments built into most boats that provide extra buoyancy. Like up near the bow, there's compartments built that allow the boat to stay afloat.
Well, some boats, that void between where you stand and the hull is filled with foam.
Yeah. I mean, they're really designed to float.
The Boston Whaler is what they're known for.
Right. Yeah. So this was like a Boston Whaler. That shape of a boat.
I see the picture.
Yeah.
But it was not a Boston Whaler.
It's not a Boston Whaler, but it's that shape. Yeah, it's that shape of a boat. It was a nice boat. But anyways, so we were on a river in eastern North Carolina, which shall remain nameless at this point.
It was really flooded, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the picture.
It rains that night, and he's got the boat tied off to the dock. But he's got it tied off to a kayak lift.
Yeah, I see that. I was wondering what these aluminum poles are. It's a kayak lift?
It's a kayak lift. He's got it tied off to that. Well, that river, this particular river, is a tidal river. And so it drops at night, or with the tide, obviously.
Yeah, it depends on when
So the rains come, the tide goes out, the boat's tied off really tight. So when it goes down, part of the boat stays.
Well, one side of it
stays,
tied up.
and the other one goes down. And so what happens is it just floods it with water. It floods
tips over, floods
the whole thing. And so at some point, as the tide comes back in, now the boat is completely underwater.
Well, in this picture, it's on its side.
Yeah, and it's floating, so it's not resting on the bottom.
Right.
But it's still floating, but it's submerged. In the picture you have, one side of it's out of the water. It's tilted over.
What's he doing there?
That's just where it first went down.
Okay, all right.
So now this guy's boat is sunk.
Yeah.
Which makes me realize you've got to know a little bit about, you've got to know how to tie a boat off, especially on a tidal river.
Right.
So it will go up and down with.
You got to give it enough slack.
Right. And if you look at a dock, even docks are built to rise and fall.
Well, some of them are.
Some of them are. Not all of them are. But the good ones
this one isn't.
No. No, I think that one might have been. I can't remember.
Yeah, no, it's bolted to the.
It's bolted?
It's bolted to the pilings.
So you have to know that in order to. So this boat was sunk.
He might have thought his pier floated.
Maybe he did.
If the pier floated, this would not have been a problem.
But it goes back to you've got to know.
But you need to know.
You got to know what you're doing at that point. So this boat did get salvaged. So over a couple hours, they got the boat back up. When they got one of the edges back up, the transom drains kicked in, and then they were able to bail it out. Finish bailing it out. But that made me realize you've got to know a little bit about boats. And so there's a lot of these videos out there now of just people videoing other people doing things on boats they shouldn't do, like speeding through no wake zones, or backing the trailer in to the off the ramp and backing the whole trailer in and leaving the trailer in the water and driving off with the trailer in the water, boat still attached to it.
Well, I mean, backing a trailer, boat or not, is something you need to learn.
I cannot back a trailer.
Can you not?
No.
So what do you do?
Well, I don't have a boat or a trailer.
Okay. So if you ever ask me to borrow my trailer,
no,
I should tell you no.
No, I'm going to ask, can you come with me in your trailer?
Absolutely. All right.
Can you drive it?
We can do that. We can do that.
I used a trailer here one time on my truck and immediately damaged my truck.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I do not, I am not experienced with a trailer. But yeah, I mean, so you've got to know how to back the trailer. And then you got a boat on top of it that you got to back into water.
Yeah.
You've got to know what you're doing.
Now, here's something that won't sound right to you. So I grew up in Annapolis, Maryland.
Yeah.
Boating capital of the East Coast, if not the country. And one of the curriculum for an elementary school, I can't remember, it was either 4th, 5th, or 6th grade, because I remember the classroom I was in, so it was either 4th, 5th, or 6th grade. They taught us boating safety.
Really?
And we got certified from the Maryland Department of Natural Resources as safe boating operators.
Do you still have your certificate?
And it was no joke.
Yeah.
It was no joke. We took the test. We read the books. We talked about it. Yeah.
Do you still remember all that?
Oh, no, I don't remember. I don't remember any of that.
Huh. Well, I guess in an area like that, it'd be like...
Well, you want kids who are probably living on the water to know something about boating safety.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about overtake. I mean, I remember we talked about, you're coming straight on another boat. What do you do?
Right.
You're going to overtake another boat. What do you do? You come across a sailboat. What do you do?
Yeah.
You're in a sailboat.
And there's certain things that you do.
And yes, there's certain etiquette
rules of the road.
Rules. Exactly.
And so that's what some of these videos are, people not obeying that. And it gets dangerous. Like, have you been? I've been on Norman before, Lake Norman, which is a lake near where we live, big lake, recreational lake. So a power lake, like I think one of the power companies here uses it for cooling. And we'll be pulling somebody behind a boat, and another boat will get right behind us.
Oh wow!
Which is a huge breach of protocol, because if anything happens to somebody, either your skier or the people on the tube, the other boat's not going to have time to react.
Right.
Yeah, and people do stupid things like that. Yeah, that's cool that y'all learned how to do it as a kid.
Yeah. When I think about it, when I think about us doing it, it just don't sound right. But now that when I first thought about it, now it makes sense. Is that kids are around water and boats, and I remember a couple of the guys in high school. We would go to their house and we'd get on their boat and drive around in the coves and on the bay, and and then my dad owned a boat.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What kind of boat?
It was like a 17-foot, 18-foot open bow, deep V, good for cutting through the big waves on the bay.
Huh.
Unfortunately, my brother gets deathly motion sick on this boat. We probably took it out twice. And so that comes to, you've probably heard this, the 2 best days of a boat owner's life. Have you heard this?
Yes. The day they buy it
and the day they sell it.
Yeah.
I think that was true for my dad.
Well, it's the other thing. It's like, if you have a boat, you've got to have a place to put it.
Right.
You got to maintain it. And then if you go use it, you've got to go get it from wherever it's at, or if it's a marina, they put it in the.
Yeah.
And just fueling one up, you've got to know what you're doing. Like, you got to know where to go. Like, you just don't dump.
Does it make you want to go buy a boat?
No.
I tell you what, I don't know if y'all remember, but episode 36, we talked about the Great Loop.
Yeah.
Remember that episode? And then if y'all haven't listened to it yet, if you haven't received I've listened to all the episodes rubber duck yet, I encourage you to start going through it. It's probably a mere 30 hours of content we have out there now. But episode 36 is the Great Loop, and we talk about the ability to circumnavigate the East Coast by water.
Yeah.
That you can start at the tip of Florida, go up the East Coast, cut across the Great Lakes, cut across some rivers and canals, make your way to the Mississippi River, come on back down, exit the Mississippi River into the Gulf, end up back in Florida.
Back where you're starting. And that'd be fine with doing something like that, because then I could sell the boat after we were done.
Well, yeah, but you want to talk about knowing something about a boat. You really need to know something about navigation.
Oh, yeah.
You need to know something about reading the water during storms and wind.
Well, and the draft of your boat, too, because the Great Loop gets shallow.
Yeah, you have to know exactly how deep your boat is running.
Yeah.
It's always amazing also that really experienced boaters, they know how to read the tides. They know what the tides are going to do to the currents. They know how to compensate for that. And then you get into sailboating. And that's just a whole nother level.
That's a whole nother level.
Because you've got the wind. Sometimes you got the wind blowing one direction. You got the tidal current going in another direction. You got to compensate for that. And then take it up a next level. Now you're racing. Now you have to put all that together and figure out how to go fast. And you have to figure out how to block the wind or the path of the other racers. I mean, that is next level stuff.
And that's what I'm saying. I think you've got people that buy a boat because they want to have a boat and they know nothing about it. And those are the people that
they're fun to watch.
They're fun to watch. They end up on Instagram. There's videos of them.
Right.
But then you have boaters that, like you say, have gone through the courses.
Yeah.
Know what to do. They spend a lot of time on their boat.
Well, that's the other thing. That's the other thing about a boat is that you really don't spend a lot of time on it. Yeah. For the most part, right? If you don't, if you're not living on the water, or if your boat is not tied up at the water, it is a monumental task to go drive to the water, launch your boat. So how often do you do it? 2-3 times a year?
Yeah.
That's not really enough time to become an expert at that. I mean, look, we've been doing this podcast for 101 episodes, and we're still figuring things out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's true. So we live what, 3 hours from the coast, 3.5 hours?
Yeah.
Not with best.
Not with a boat.
True.
Yeah, it'll take longer.
But at best, we're 3.5 hours.
Yeah, right.
We're not on the coast where we live.
No, right.
But have you seen in our neighborhood? There's it's the yacht, the guy who rebuilds the sailboats.
No, you told me about this. I have not seen this. What is it?
He rebuilds big sailboats in our neighborhood. Like, I bet they're 25 feet or better.
Really? In his backyard?
In his front yard. And he's got a little thing that says our neighborhood's name, Yacht Club.
No kidding.
Above it, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how he got into it this far inland, because these aren't like lake boats.
No.
I mean, these are big sailing boats.
Ocean-going boats.
Yeah. I used to think I wanted like a big sailing boat.
Yeah.
When I was a kid.
How big?
Like 25 feet.
All right.
But
ocean-going.
But I was not. I grew up in Cary, as we've determined.
That's right. Now, don't start making us believe you lived on the coast now.
Right.
That you were a coastal farmer.
Yeah, no, but I did. There was like this streak where I was like, oh, that looked. I think it just I read an article and like that looked cool.
Something I wish I had done in Annapolis was gotten into racing catamarans.
Oh yeah.
I think that would have been a blast.
Yeah.
When we were at the coast with my family when I was in high school, we rented. I'm pretty sure we're on the Gulf Coast, so it's not, the winds aren't as fierce, but they can get bad. But you can have pretty calm days or light wind days. And Dad decided we're going to rent a catamaran and get a quick lesson. And we rented a catamaran and we took it out in the Gulf and had the greatest time.
Now, did you have power?
No.
Only sail.
Only sail.
So you had to get out and back under wind power.
That's right. That was we did. And one of the coolest things though was I'm pretty sure it was down in the Pensacola area because some naval aviators came. But they obviously had some naval training, right?
The Navy.
So they rent the same catamaran that we rented, and they turn that thing, they lean back, they hit the sail just the right, and it pops up onto one pontoon, and they take off.
Right.
That was the coolest thing to see.
But you had to come back under wind power.
We did. Yeah. Like I said, the wind was pretty. It was light, so we weren't going to get blown out to sea, and we knew how to tack.
Okay.
We knew how to quarter the wind and get back against the wind if we had to.
Because it's one thing to dock a boat using a motor.
Yeah.
But it's another thing to do it under wind power.
Yeah. But remember, we pulled up onto the beach. We didn't come onto a dock.
Okay.
We came up onto the beach.
Right. Okay.
So we just had to drive straight into the sand.
Straight into the sand. Okay. I was like, man, I can't imagine.
No.
Negotiating that thing.
But think about the old sailing vessels before they had under power. I mean, that's how they got around.
Yeah.
They were able to negotiate their big sailing ships at the harbors under wind power. Now imagine sometimes they had tugboats.
Right, old tenders that came along.
Yeah, with oars, and they would row them around some, but still.
So I've been watching this Instagram channel that all they do is they film this one channel up. I think I said this at the top of the show of people coming through this channel, and it's rough. Okay. And it's like, I guess it's right where it empties into a bay or something.
All right.
And it's rough right there, but there's houses. And so this guy just sits there and films boats coming through this channel, and like people falling off, and all these like breaches of protocol when they're going by each other, and people losing control of the boats and all this kind of stuff. And these look like boating people. I mean, but still, they can't handle this one little spot. I need to figure out where it's at.
This inlet.
Yeah, this little inlet, because it just gets pretty rough in that spot.
All right.
Yeah.
I remember going through an inlet with my uncle down in Pensacola. He would always say, "Okay, hang on, this could get pretty rough."
Really?
I don't remember it being exceptionally rough, but he would say, because just the amount of water pushing through the current during the tides, the water starts moving.
I was watching it one day, and a girl got thrown overboard, and they like had to rescue her.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I mean it's heavy.
That's bad stuff.
Heavy to, and there's also like a IG channel that all they do is record people trying to dock boats in Miami. Okay. And lots of people that don't know how to do it, and they either hit other people's boats or they.
IG channel? You mean
Instagram channel?
Instagram. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just an Instagram.
That wasn't in our slang.
Our slang. That's my slang.
When Emily and Emma were here, so.
Well, I've essentially given up TV.
What's that?
Like at night, I would sit down and watch TV.
Yeah.
Now I just sit down and watch.
Instagram
just
channels.
Stuff. Yeah, these channels on Instagram that.
Are you on TikTok yet?
I'm not on TikTok.
Should we be doing videos for
this?
For an Instagram channel? Should we have an Instagram channel?
Well, I did the ones for the hat.
Okay.
I did the ones with Camille about how to do the hat.
Okay,
One of them got 100 views.
100 views?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Now, is there a link to the podcast in the?
Yeah.
Okay,
It links
all right.
back. It was on the TDSR Instagram channel.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, our daughters have said, your daughter has said that we should have a TikTok channel.
TikTok, right. Well, no, I've said that.
You said that. She said probably not
They would.
have that.
No, it's not.
Well,
I still think we could.
It's just like boating. Yeah, I guess you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah, but there's a little less at stake with a TikTok channel.
I saw something today about it. It's like, your first podcast is going to be bad, but do it anyway.
Okay.
I think it's the same thing
Like
with boating.
first podcast episode or the first podcast?
The whole thing, whole 100 episodes. But you have to learn somewhere with these boats.
Yeah.
And so I guess you have a friend. And some people don't learn. I think some people must have friends.
Oh, yeah.
Or they grow up.
Yeah.
The Coast Guard has courses.
Right. I had one in my elementary school.
And then I don't know who teaches. I think backing a trailer is just a talent that you're born with.
There are tricks to that too,
Yeah.
which I could teach you.
Oh, well, good.
I could teach you the tricks of the trade.
I know the basics of it, and I've never backed with I've come straight out with a trailer before. I've pulled boats out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's when somebody's saying, you drive straight out and do not look to the left or the right. So I saw a guy who was able to run his boat up into like the back of a van. He had a van.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's some people that get fancy with that kind of stuff.
So my father-in-law, he has a bass boat. Mm. And before they lived on the lake, we would trailer it to the lake.
Yeah.
And I knew I was okay with my father-in-law when he let me back his boat into the lake right next to a dock.
Nice. How'd you do?
I did fine.
Yeah.
I did fine.
But you're a professional driver.
Well,
also.
it's still, you gotta, it's still different backing into a lake.
Yeah. Well, and backing your father-in-law's boat.
Yes, right.
Yeah. You don't want to.
You don't
want to mess up.
There's some additional pressure there.
Well, there's also everybody at the boat launch watching you.
Oh yeah, you do have an audience.
Yeah. Everybody's standing around hoping that
they're waiting for
hoping that somebody
come
messes
on,
up.
dump that in.
Yep.
Drive it in, boy.
Yeah. You have a whole crowd.
I was not entertaining.
Yeah. Well, it's good. You don't
I don't want to be entertaining with my father-in-law's boat or his car.
Well, it doesn't sound right, but I think you've come to the end of another episode of That Don't Sound Right.
Well, hey, before we close, we want to thank again everyone for listening. This is episode 101. We can't imagine where the time's gone, but soon we'll be here upon episode 104. 2 years of recording. Hey, if this is your first time listening and you enjoyed the conversation, would you consider hitting the subscribe button on the platform in which you're listening? Also, consider giving us a rating or leaving us a review.
Also, our advertiser is Wonderfully Made Designs, a small business specializing in custom-made T-shirts and decals. Contact Casey at Facebook at Wonderfully Made Designs 139.14. Use your code TSR10 for 10% off your first order, and I will try to get some pictures of the shirt she did for us up on the IG.
The IG, nice.
On the Instagram account.
All right.
So, That Don't Sound Right is a production of TDSR Podcast in conjunction with Camel City Studios. I am your co-host and sound engineer, Cecil. Peter does our web design and is our other host. Our barista is Camille. Emily is our graphic designer. Hope everything's going well at school. Ella is in charge of Instagram. And I want to say, I noticed that I think Pat, our friend in Uganda, listens every week just from the stats that we get.
It's got to be, yeah.
So, Pat, hello.
Hey,
hope you're doing
Pat.
well. Hope everything's great. Thank you for listening. Giorgio tests our merchandise. Brent is our international brand ambassador. And as always, listener number one is
Scott.
So until next week, keep talking.
And stay curious.